Stocks and bars, stocks.
Yo, it is Stocks and Bars, the Stock Market Hip Hop Podcast, the only place you will find finance mixed with hip hop. And yo, today's episode is special. Have you ever wondered, can you copy politicians' trades? It's unfair when these guys have so much access. My guy, Brian Sharp, is on the podcast. We're going to talk all about Autopilot.com. Let's go. I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs and courage and teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing pop. You law is extra. You tuning in to Stocks and Bars. Yo, this is Stocks and Bars, the Stock Market Hip Hop Podcast, the only place you'll find finance mixed with hip hop. And today, listen, I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about this one for the fact that this was my shot that I had to shoot. So the guest that I have with me today, all right, he doesn't know. I've been tracking him for a while on Instagram. All right, he runs Instagram Autopilot. All right, it's politician trade. I forget the exact IG, but it will be in the show notes. But I've been following him for a while. He runs an app called Autopilot. So I've been a fan of this for a while, and I figured I'd just shoot my shot. So a couple of times on the post, I said, hey, I'd like to get you on the podcast. Didn't work that way, all right? Sent a message, didn't work that way. But that's all right, because energy is energy. So I ended up going to the website, and I've tried to find some information, and then I found him. Once I found him, I found an email, and I sent him an email, all right? I was like, he's either going to say yes, or he's going to say no, or he's not going to respond, one or the other. Either way, I'll put it out there in the world. So, to my surprise, he sent a response, and I said, oh, cool. I had no idea that I was going to get a response. We set it up, and here we are. This is a prime example of how things work, family. Once you put it into the universe, it comes to you. So, yo, family, let's put together our hands for Brian Sharp. What's going on, my brother?
Yo, what's up, man? Thanks for the kind introduction. I wish I saw the comments on the Instagram. That's actually my co-founder, Chris, who runs the Instagram Twitter accounts.
Hey, no shade thrown.
Yeah, no worries. But thanks for sending the email. Appreciate you reaching out.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you for accepting. So let's get into this one. All right, we're gonna label this one. I'm going off the top here. All right, we're gonna label this one politics as usual. All right, one of my biggest beefs in life is insider trading. Okay, and one of the reasons why I hate it is because it only applies to the people who don't have income. So if you have money, you have privy to a lot of different sources of information. And because of that, you're allowed to make different decisions than regular people. So if you knew something about a company that, hey, this is about to happen, the whispers come and you can actually be a front runner for what is about to happen. And this happens a lot of times, and it really drives me insane. So the reason why I love this app is because it allows you to mimic different traders. I want to say traders, politicians that make trades. And of course, you know, politicians have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to whatever is happening behind the scenes. And they are allowed to trade, and they are allowed to make income off of these things. We're going to put air quotes on there. But my guy here has figured out a way how to help us out here. So let's go ahead down the list here. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of echo the sentiment, like the fact that, you know, the regular people, like we're just, you know, every agency will, you know, investigate us for doing something. Or like if we, you know, make a profitable trade, like it could cause red flags, but politicians seem to, you know, really have no one looking at them, right? Because the people who would look at them would be the politicians who regulate themselves. It's kind of like a referee betting on a game. They're like, they could influence the game a little bit. So
right.
We got started in 2020 when COVID happened and the stock market just dropped. And one thing that we saw was these politicians who sold their stocks a week before the big announcement. And they sit on the health committee. And so you're just like, you're telling me these politicians who sit on the health committee, called their financial advisors to sell all their stocks a week before COVID, didn't know anything. Like it's just a
Right.
little weird. And so we were like, let's let's see if there's any other suspicious activity across all politicians. And we found a few interesting suspects, both sides. It's not Democrats or
Right.
Republicans.
Right.
Uh, I think Pelosi, her net worth is, 200 million plus. And you're like, she's been a career politician her whole life. How does she have that much money? And then you just see these very well timed stock trades of, buying, Tesla, 2 weeks before, I think this was a month before the large like EV government plan that was pushed that
Mm,
would benefit Tesla. And then you see her buying Nvidia right before the CHIPS Act, which gave Nvidia, which was like a 52 billion, don't quote me, but like a 50 billion plus a government contract to chip manufacturers in the United States. And Nvidia was one of them, and Nvidia shoots up afterward. So you see a lot of these like very well-timed trades, and you just see like she's beating the hedge fund or a lot of hedge funds significantly. She's
mm,
up 52% this year on her portfolio, um, just on autopilot. So she's actually probably up a little more, but on autopilot, her portfolio is up 52%. And what that means is there's like this delay in reporting, right? So if Pelosi files a trade or a politician files a trade, they have around 45 days to report that trade. We've kind of like with our social media accounts bullied Pelosi a little bit into reporting earlier. Like we put a poll like, would you rather politicians be banned completely or just report in the same exact day? And what was funny is after we made that poll, the next reporting was literally immediate. She reported immediately, which is good for us because now it's
yeah.
like we don't have that delay anymore. So now Pelosi's averaging like around 7 days over the last few years, which is better than most politicians. Um, and what we've done is just allow people to connect their Robinhood account to our platform, or Webull, Fidelity, Schwab. Then they just select the amount, and then it's like copy Nancy Pelosi, and that's it. And we kind of do the rest for you.
That's insane. And I'm on board with you because I have a saying is there's no such thing as coincidences. I talked about the whole thing about energy in the beginning on how this even happened. This is no coincidence, right? This is something that I had you didn't know about, right? But I had in my own mind on how I would like it to play out, and I pursued it. And because I pursued it, it became true. That's all it is. So I don't find it a little funny that all of a sudden, right before COVID hit, boom, everyone is like, hey, give me out, give me out, give me out, give me out. Then drop the news after I'm out. That's shady. And props to you for figuring that out and actually taking the action to see if other people are doing the same thing. I got my opinion on politics, but I'll save that for later. So
Uh,
I did a little research on you, and so you have a background in software. So can you talk to that a little bit?
yeah, for sure. So I kind of grew up. My dad was a software engineer in San Francisco. Um, so just grew up like around all these computer programmers. Started to program when I was 8, was like making video games. My parents wouldn't let me play video games. So I was like, what if I could, instead of playing them, what if I could make my own? Then I could play them. So that was kind of like the logic. But yeah, I got into software, started kind of building things and started working for startups, big companies, and left. And I was like, you know what? I want to do my own thing. And that's when I started Autopilot.
Okay. So when you started Autopilot, what gave you the idea that there was a demand for an app like that?
Yeah, we originally started as a company called Iris during COVID, which was a social stock app where you're like, how like your friends are all trading and you just want
Yeah,
to see what
yeah,
they're doing, but you have like these iMessage groups and you're like, yo, what stocks did you buy or when did you sell yet? Question mark, question
yeah.
mark. So we built an app that like where you would connect your Robinhood accounts to, and you could follow your friends and see exactly what they're doing without having to message them. So basically, you would like click on their profile and you would see their Robinhood account. Anytime they sold, you would see when they sold. Anytime they bought, you would see when they bought. And so we built that to around 200,000 users. And we put portfolios for different people, like because people wanted to see their friends, but they also wanted to see, politicians and hedge funds. And so we put like, the Nancy Pelosi portfolio on that app. We put the Warren Buffett, the Michael Burry, and we just saw people really liked seeing what these large, influential people were doing. And then they also wanted to like automate their trades behind them. And so we
Yeah,
just saw that data, and we were like, you know what, let's just the Iris social stock app is cool. But this auto trading thing of these people is even cooler. So let's
yeah.
just dedicate all of our resources to building that.
That's dope, man. All right, so the whole thing about politicians, right? There are obviously, the Pelosi's that you talked about, but then there's the guys that probably aren't doing too well. Right? So can you tell me like some ways that autopilot empowers the average person to trade?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, um, especially like, I mean, yourself, like you're very invested in the stock market. There's a lot of people who don't have like the time, the resources, or even the desire, but they still want to benefit in a way that's like better than average, right? Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, just put your money in the SPY, which is actually, probably pretty good advice.
Yeah,
But then you just feel kind of cheated when you have other people who are just, making more money, or you just feel like you're like, there's a lot of people in life who are like, I'm gonna wake up at 6, go to the gym, drink my athletic screen. Like they want to maximize life. They want a better than average life.
right.
I think like that's where kind of autopilot fits in, where it's like, okay, you could put your money in the SPY, that's good. But if you want that better than average life, that's where autopilot comes in. It's like we want to give people an edge where they need a little bit more financial literacy, but it has the
Yeah.
same ease, of an application. Um, yeah.
So, how much money does the average person need, or what do you recommend the average person has in order to take advantage of your application in order to make money?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I could recommend anything, but what I could say is our minimum on our application is around $500. So what people
Okay.
do, a minimum of $500, and they could track each portfolio, Pelosi, Dan Crenshaw, Michael Burry, Warren Buffett. Um, but what we see a lot of people do is they'll put the initial $500 to test it out because it's kind of like a new idea. They're like, is it a scam? Like I'm connecting my Robinhood to what's going on. So a lot of people put like a small amount and then they'll increase very periodically. And so the average amount we have, or the median amount we have in Autopilot, is around $8,000 per person. And we have actually some accounts that have like, millions and millions of dollars tracking these people.
That's insane.
Yeah, right now there's around $340 million, just trading the different portfolios on our platform.
Okay. So with that 500 that you initially put in, is it dependent upon your broker if you can get partial shares, or like how does it break it up
Yeah, that's a
for
good question. Because I think what you're hinting to is like the fractional shares are necessary, especially for stocks that have high prices, right? If
right, right.
Nvidia used to be $1,000 a share, it's like Pelosi's portfolio is 30% Nvidia. So how would you, buy one share with $500? So Robinhood would allow us fractionals where you could actually buy partial shares, and we could get that percentage like perfect. But not every brokerage supports that, right?
Right.
So Charles Schwab, they actually do support. They're in a process of kind of supporting fractionals. They're in a weird, case. Webull supports fractionals and Fidelity supports fractionals. But our goal is to, yeah, really support as many brokerages as we can, whether or not they have fractionals or not.
Okay. So, all right, let's go ahead and in hip hop we like to talk about generational wealth. In my culture in general, right? We've hit this probably over this stride over like the last 4 years where we've seen an increase in people who look like me attempting to invest and doing everything they can in order to do something with the stock market or whatever else they can do to own a business, entrepreneurial efforts, all this good stuff. So, when it comes to building generational wealth, all right, how can tracking the investment moves of other politicians help people make smarter decisions when it comes to investing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I mean, I think the numbers don't lie. So you just have to look at, how much they're outperforming hedge funds and index funds, and then see who are, and say, you know what, if they're gonna do it, let's start small. Let's get used to it, see what happens, And then as you build like confidence and trust, then you're like, all right, let me continue to add more money. And the goal would be, to set, I think for like, wealth, future wealth, you want to like set some money into savings. You don't just want to like blow it every weekend and live paycheck
Right,
to
right.
paycheck. And I think, having something that is very exciting for you to like just saying, oh, I'm going to save and put in a bank account isn't very exciting. And so you're like, it's competing with weekend plans at like, going out with your friends. It's like put money in a bank or, have it just go out with your friends and spend it. But I think it's like, oh, have it track these politicians. It's kind of fun and exciting. It's like, what, I'll sacrifice. I want to see what happens. So I think that's kind of like the pitch is like see what happens, have fun with it, make it exciting. And hopefully, you know, it works out for the best. Which so far it has, but you never
Yeah.
know.
So we talked about Pelosi and the good ones, right? Can you name I wouldn't think that your app has any bad traders, but can you name some historical bad traders that you found out over time?
Let's see. I mean, there's some bad traders. So there's a very funny one we have. I think you're gonna laugh at that. Are you on Twitter at all?
I am, yes.
All right. So this is a portfolio that we have.
That's got to be doing very good then.
It's doing 56% this year. And so this is our best performing portfolio. And I know you asked, like, are there any bad traders? But if I don't know if this is like an audio podcast or video, but we
Both.
we are we are tracking we're tracking the Jim Cramer, and he's just really historically bad. Anytime he says do something,
Don't
like
do it.
usually, yeah, don't do it. Like he'll be
Yeah,
like,
that's been a joke for a while.
been a joke for a while, and we just started tracking him to be like, is it a joke or is it reality? And it turns out it's reality. Like we've been tracking him for a little more than a year. Let's see how many 120. Yeah, like a year and 7 months, and he's up 83, 81% in that time. If you do the opposite of what he says, so which is just crazy to me. I think he's outperforming this. Doing the opposite of what he says outperforms a spy by about 22% in the last 12 months.
So we've got confirmation the Kramer effect is real. All right. And whatever he says, do not do it.
Do not, like, for example, it's like with everything in life. Like I think there was like the Super Bowl where the Eagles were playing someone, and he was like, "Go Eagles! Eagles are gonna win," and then they lose. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like with everything. I mean, I love the Eagles, but when Jim Cramer's on your side, you want to be,
You're
oh
going to back away.
yeah,
I mean, to be fair, he's always been a Philly fan. So
that's
that's, yeah, he
that's
was
fair.
going to do that no matter what. So for the people who think that what you're doing is bad or unethical, all right, what do you got to say to them?
I mean, I haven't met anyone who thinks that. Maybe Pelosi thinks that. I would say, I would say like our whole goal is to reduce financial corruption in the world. And it's very hard to do. And I think you just have to bring attention to it, be provocative about it. And what better way to like try to stop the corruption than mock it by saying, if you do it, we'll do it. Every person could do it, right? So it's
Hmm.
like that's like what we're doing. Ideally the politicians get banned. Like that, like that's actually what we want. We just want like there's so much corruption in the world. Like, how do we just reduce it as much as possible? And the joke that we kind of have is like we're democratizing access to corruption. So now every American has the ability to download an app and be corrupt in a way.
This is disrupting the system. This is what drives America. I mean, the biggest revolutions that we've had have been system disruptions, and this is no different. So I hope that this continues on and brings more awareness to what is plaguing everybody. This isn't right. Now, to some people, they may say that they're just people too, right? They have a right to invest just like you and I do. The issue at hand is because of the information that they have. So I've seen multiple posts where it's been flagged that this senator sits on this committee. Okay. Interestingly enough, they bought this, which happens to coincide with this, you know? So this is what we're talking about. We're not talking that the average person shouldn't or a politician shouldn't be able to trade. At least that's my standpoint. They just should not be able to have access to the information and then use it to their benefit without us having the same type of access. Like that's where the playing field needs to be evened at. So how do you think autopilot is evening the playing field?
Yeah, I think one just starts with, exposing it in a very timely manner. Like we're very big on social media. So as soon as something happens that we notice, like we try to post about it, talk about it. So everyone else could be like, oh, wait, this happened. And again, there usually is like a delay, but I actually think it's quite a small delay for when things happen. So it's basically saying, hey, these people, there's a suspicious activity. There's something going on here. We don't know, but you could take actionable, steps to profit from it. So that's the way we're evening the playing field. I think the other goal is like to really, if we do this enough, we'll be able to get laws passed. Maybe we have to, lobby the government, but we could get laws
Mm-hmm.
passed to basically ban politicians from trading. And that would actually be the goal that we do. Because like I'm kind of empathetic with the politicians. Like let's say you had your entire life savings in the market, and then you're briefed that COVID is going to wreck the world, and you're like, my entire life savings is in the stock. What would you do? What would you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Like I
This
would
is
be like
real.
that.
Yeah.
I've worked my entire life for this. I just have it in like ETFs and index funds, and I just get told there's going to be this massive world event. I would be like, I wouldn't just let my, like, it's kind of like if you were told your whole family was gonna be in like all of this disruption and their lives are going to be uprooted, but you could prevent it. I feel like most guys would do it. I
Most
would be like,
people would
yeah.
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So to me,
That's
it's like
that's
I just
human.
think they're in an unfortunate position where they have the ability to do something with information that could help them. And that's why I think the laws have to be passed to actually like prevent them from doing this, where it's like they actually don't have agency over their investments. Like they have to put it in a blind trust. Um, or maybe we pay politicians better, so they don't
Mm.
try to go find other sources of income. But yeah, I think the goal is like to try to just remove the responsibility of or the ability for politicians to make these corrupt decisions.
So with that being said, do you think okay, we got two fronts going on. We got empower the people to get them financial gains, and then there's also making sure that we take care of the corruption. So which one do you think autopilot serves stronger?
Yeah, I think right now it's pretty equal in both.
Okay.
Um, but my goal is in the future is like we really do reduce the corruption and we get them banned from trading. But then it's like that other piece that you just mentioned, which is how do we get people to benefit financially from different technology? And I think when we look at investing or wealth management services, like we see that they're actually quite expensive. Like if you have to pay 1% AUM per year, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's like,
Perpetuity. Perpetuity. Let's put
yeah. And
that.
the frustrating thing is most Americans don't understand what that is. And they don't
Yeah.
like these financial advisors just take it
Mm.
from the brokerage without you knowing.
Yep.
And it's to me, it's like legal robbery. And most Americans actually all Americans who have financial advisors are just literally like getting robbed every single day. And it's a substantial amount of money. And it's just very sad. And so I think Autopilot, the way we monetize is we don't charge any AUM fees. We just charge a subscription fee. It's a flat fee per year. It's very transparent. It's just $100 a year for the service, which is expensive for like people just getting into it. But for people who are like who have had a job and are investing like over $2,000 per year, it's actually a
That's
pretty
cheap.
it's pretty cheap, pretty
Yeah.
cheap. And the more money you have, it doesn't the number doesn't increase. So it's a very scalable solution. And the goal is to democratize access to good investing. So, for example, there's a lot of hedge funds out there like Citadel, Bill Ackman's hedge fund, Michael Burry. We want to be the place that revolutionizes the financial management space that actually brings hedge funds to the people. Where before you'd have to be an accredited investor to invest with a
Right.
hedge fund. But now it's like you could actually just go on autopilot and copy like anybody. And so something that we're actually launching very soon, is the ability for anybody to put a portfolio on autopilot. So you yourself would be able to be like, you know what, I think these seven stocks are going to do well. I've done my research. I look at charts. Here are these seven stocks. You get a special link. You could share that with your friends and family. They could all click that link and copy you automatically in their Robinhood account. So now all of a sudden you can start managing other people's money without them having to like physically give you the money, if that
Right.
makes sense. So that's what we're building. And the goal is to actually build a meritocracy to find the best investors in the world. So now all of a sudden, if we have 100,000 people like yourself posting portfolios over a period of time, we could see who's beating the market, who has this insight, who's just very gifted at this. They might not have inside information,
Right.
but they're very good at doing the research, using tools, looking where others don't. Um, and we want to be the forefront of finding those people in the world. And I'm sure there's a lot of them, they're just unknown.
Right.
So
That's awesome. That I like that idea, man. That's something that hip hop likes to do too, is likes to be the trendsetter, right? A lot of things in hip hop, we set a lot of trends. And because of that, people come to us in order to do that. So if you need something new done, then obviously they would come to an artist or whatever in order to help break that brand. And we do the same thing time and time again with different brands. This is no different, right? So you have aligned yourself with Robinhood. And it seems like they've come up a lot because they were the broker that came into the game and just completely changed everything.
yeah, they changed everything for the
Yeah.
good. Better.
Yeah, they came into the game and it was like, listen, you don't need to be paying this much for options anymore. This is what it is. And everybody that was been in the game forever was mad, right? But what happened? They eventually had to change over. This is why disruption is important because those guys have been hosing us for years. And they finally got what's coming to them that you should not be charging these outrageous fees. I need you to do this also um for overdraft fees. Make an app for that.
I should. I should.
Because that's robbery.
It is, honestly.
So, all right, next question I got for you. So, I talked about how hip hop and how it likes to challenge the status quo, right? So, what ways do you see Autopilot challenging the traditional investment strategies?
Yeah, I think there's just, yeah, this is a good question. There's so much to talk about, but I would just say there's just so many different opinions out there, and there's a lot of conflicts of interest. Um, and there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on as well, right?
Mhm.
So if you're a wealth manager who is legally able to give financial advice, you're going to be telling people certain things that just benefit the wealth manager, not necessarily the person, right?
Right,
So like a big part is financial advisors only get money from the money or like when they get the AUM fee from money that's currently invested in the stock market. If they pull the money out of the stock market, they actually don't get a charge on those assets, right? Because it's a percent base. If you have 100,000 in
right,
the market, they get 1% of that, which is $1,000 per year. If you have $50,000 in the stock market, they'll get $500 per year. So if there's ever a situation in which the financial advisor thinks the market is going to drop, like if they raise interest rates, for example, or there's like an economic collapse, or they see COVID happening, if they pull their clients' money out of the market, they lose their own income.
right,
So they're actually decentivized from pulling money out of the market, even though they might think it's a good decision. So now you have all these people with retirements who are like paying this person to do the best financial decision, but no one will ever be like, I'm
take your money out.
temporarily, there's some risk going on. I want to make it safe and just put it in cash. And to me, that's the biggest conflict of interest because sometimes the best investment is cash. You don't want to be like day trading and pulling it out and getting scared and
Right, right,
stuff like, but you could say COVID's happening, it's dropping. I want to take it out and wait for, interest rates to lower, hear what the federal government has to say before like we just get destroyed completely. Um, and I know that might be, counter advice than a lot of RIAs give, but Just look at where the money is, right? Look at how they're incentivized.
Right.
So I would say everything. That's why charging a flat fee is beneficial, is because we're aligning incentives. We don't get paid based on, is your money in cash or is it in investments. We just get paid for the automated service that we're offering. So we're just completely aligned with the individual. Um, and yeah, our goal is kind of like the original Robinhood goal, which is just reduce costs, build tools for like the average American that the wealthy currently have access to, and let's
Right.
have a fun time doing it, and let's make them some of the sickest tools ever.
That is it for this week's episode. Make sure that you check out part 2 next week. What did you learn from this episode? Make sure you hit me up, tag the show, Stocks and Bars. I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs, encouraging, teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing pop. You law is extra. You tuning in to Stocks and Bars.
Stocks and bars. Stocks and bars. Stocks and bars.